let's go ahead and get started and start discussing the seismic related changes between ASCE 705 and ASCE 710. You can see here in the picture the difference in thickness between the two books. That tells you right off the bat that there are a lot of changes. ASCE 710 came out in May of 2010. It's kind of hard to believe that it's been out for that long. But it has, and so we're all getting used to the new provisions. Here we have a slide of the 2012 IBC, and the reason that we include this slide is twofold. First, we want to make it crystal clear to everybody that ASCE 710 is referenced for the first time in the 2012 IBC. It's not referenced in the 2009 IBC, which is what everyone is using right now for the most part. And this has been confusing for some users because ASCE 710 was published prior to the 2009 IBC's effective date in many states. So we just want to make it very clear that it's the 2012 IBC where ASCE 710 is first referenced. And we like to show this slide to let you know that yes, in fact, the 2012 IBC is available. It's been available for a while, and this is the first time that the IBC has come out this early, in fact, about a full year before what it used to be. So here we have a code, and it's not even 2012 yet. Today, what we're going to be covering is the changes in chapters 11, 12, and 22. And hopefully you did read that in the material that went out announcing the seminar. You know that chapters 11 through 23 cover the seismic provisions, but there's just no way that we could cover the changes in all of those chapters. So this web seminar is limited to the changes in chapters 11, 12, and 23. And that way we can go ahead and spend the time that the changes deserve. Now in this slide you may be asking the question, why is the word period in red and why is this comma in red? These are words that were missing in the printed version of ASCE 710, but we're very confident that they should have been there, so that's why we show them in red. We're going to, let me just go back to this slide for a second here. I was talking about how we're going to cover chapters 11, 12, and 22. On this slide, we're highlighting that we're going to cover chapters 11 and 22 together because they're related to each other. 22 is where we find all of the maps, and then chapter 11 is where we find reference to those maps. Okay, here in section 11.1.3, we're going to talk about a change that we find here. This is kind of a motherhood and apple pie provision. It's up front in chapter 11 where the seismic provisions start. And it basically is saying that all structures, all non-structural components need to be designed in accordance with the requirements found in the ASCE 7 seismic provisions. And then it lists the different chapters specifically. The new language here comes right after what we just showed on the previous slide. And you know that when you're looking at ASCE 710, because there is a black bar in the margin, they use black bars in the margin to show a new language and a black arrow to show deletion. Now, I think this is a welcome change for those of you who may be involved in the design of industrial buildings. And let's go ahead and read it. Buildings whose purpose is to enclose equipment or machinery and whose occupants are engaged in maintenance or monitoring of that equipment, machinery, or their associated processes shall be permitted to be classified as non-building structures designed and detailed in accordance with section 15.5 of this standard. So this is very helpful when it comes to complying with the allowable height restrictions. In chapter 12, if you're designing it as a building, you are subject to some pretty restrictive height limitations, which is difficult to comply with for the type of industrial buildings described in this new provision.